We're rolling. We're rolling. Who we rolling with?
Where are we rolling to?
The homies. We're rolling with the homies.
Your homies. You got a good group of homies?
Yeah, I do. I think
So
so.
What are we doing here today?
I don't know. I guess we're talking a little bit about air and air quality. And I had to refrain myself from just talking about it, or from researching it rather, because that's sort of my first instinct, where it's just like, wow, like anything that I can learn that I don't know a lot about, that affects our health and our wellness. So super stoked to just sit down and start to begin that process now. And so I mentioned to you too, is like, I want to learn with everybody. And so we're actually going to go live here on Instagram. And so I can get some audience questions and feedback. And so we can fold that into this podcast, because I want to learn with everybody. And so that's why I'm excited to kick off today.
And it's been like a 2-day adventure.
2-day. That's right. Because yesterday I went to, it's called the Jasper
Jasper house.
Oasis.
You came to my real house.
I did.
And you watched me make some Wagyu beef bacon on a stainless steel pan.
That's right.
Set off the Jasper a little bit, hopped in the golf cart, went to the Jasper house, gave you a little tour of the neighborhood.
Yep. Exactly.
And then we did a couple little videos there.
Yep.
But at one point, I noticed in your video, you said you hit pause, but really you hit pause on me.
Yeah.
You got me to stop talking.
Oh, yeah, true.
Because I'm like...
I was just like, wait. I want to wait. I want to wait for everybody to like start to learn with me.
Like, there's no cameras here. We're talking.
And then we showed a few tips of what we could do at home, just as it relates to the sources of what could be causing any potential...
Range hood.
Yep.
Bathroom fans, shoes, some low-hanging fruit things that one can do.
Right.
And then, we'll see how I'm excited about the idea of not just like these conversational podcasts are cool. We'll see what we end up doing with all this. But the idea of like hanging out and filming videos and just making it more integrative. Like you were even recording a little bit on the golf cart and at the house.
Right.
And just like making content more dynamic, I think, as someone who's a large consumer of YouTube and podcasts and Instagram content, I feel like it's time to move beyond we were talking the most about it off camera, about like these 90-second, these 10-second stories and this 1-minute reel and all these things that are really like shortening attention spans.
Right.
I'm not feeling it.
Right.
And I like that you're kind of like, it's hard to be truly educational in 20-second and feed into the algorithm and do all these little things.
There's so many variables and nuances. And so, that's what we're sitting down here to talk about too, is some of those like cool kind of behind the scenes questions that just pop up naturally, even from a 10-second clip to a 30-second clip. And so that's what we're here to do.
So we got some gadgets here today. I have a Jasper in case we want to like use it to do some tests. I brought a CO2 detector, which, by the way, the carbon dioxide in here right now is 665, which is really good.
Tell us what that means.
So the outdoor CO2, I'll pick a camera. This is, you can't really see, but it's 600.
We go get up there. Woo! Not the focus.
How about this one? I feel like the middle camera can do it. Yep, it could.
Perfect.
665.
Okay.
So outdoor air is 400. I imagine a couple. Oh, they can't hear me. So the outdoor air is about 400 CO2 in parts per million. Inside, a healthy range is like 600 to 800.
Okay.
As you get over 1,000, that's when the brain fog and the fatigue starts kicking in a lot. I've seen it as high as 3,500 and 4,000 inside.
Whoa, where did you get that number from? How did you?
My bedroom in British Columbia. I was sleeping 10 hours a night.
Was this wildfire season? Which, by the way, Mike is a wildfire expert. Kind of call you like Smokey the Bear in ways.
Smokey the Bear.
Like the human Smokey the Bear.
I'll take it.
Yeah, it definitely has that personality, but sure. Tell us a little bit about
the beard a little longer.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about that.
So yeah, when me and Rachel were living, Rachel's my wife's name, when we were living in British Columbia, we had a house that didn't have a central HVAC system. So it had baseboards and it had like mini split ductless heat pumps for the AC and heat in each room. So that means you have no return ventilation. So we would close our door at night to keep the cats out of the bedroom. Okay. Cute kittens, not so good for air.
Right.
They lick themselves, all their saliva is on their fur, they roll in your bed. no thanks.
So it's just kittens, it's dogs too. It's all sorts of
Yeah.
animals. And okay.
So we would leave the door shut, and the CO2 in that main area of the house would be like 650, 700. It was pretty good. But at night, the door's shut, the room's not breathing, but we are. So we're breathing out carbon dioxide every breath we take. And I started to dig into this because I was sleeping 10 hours a night. This is shortly after we had a baby. So like our work schedules were like non-existent. So we were like on weird baby time, but I was sleeping 10 hours a day, waking up very tired. I was not tracking my sleep. And then I just did an air check and the CO2 was into the mid 3000s.
Wow.
So I would normally crack a window. That would help a lot. But yeah, then because of wildfire smoke season or because it would be cold, that wasn't too effective, or it created a new host of problems. So what ended up being the solution there is our master bedroom connected to a bathroom, like the ensuite, and we would just leave the bathroom fan on. By leaving the bathroom fan on, this would stay under 900. So instead of getting well into the thousands, we had some constant ventilation now. And, you know, especially if someone's like a mouth breather, for example, then they create way more CO2 than someone who's breathing through their nose.
Right. Yeah, I had someone over when I had the Jasper in my house and just literally they coughed kind of near it and didn't even realize. And then you start to see the
Did it
particles.
pick up?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. So especially if that person like vaped or smoked earlier in the day.
What?
Yeah, especially if they're using, because like if someone uses like, think about it, like if you could smell a cigarette on someone's breath hours later, that's because they're breathing out cigarette smoke all day.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So let's talk about that. If you can smell anything, right? From diapers to dog poop to diffusers to laundry detergent to dish detergent. Where does it go?
What does it mean to smell?
What does it even mean? Like and how? So as someone who's really nerds out on just consumption and what that means and how it translates to human health. I've been more of like food and what we drink and even social media. Like we're consuming so much, and that is why this is important to me too. It's like, oh yes. What about air? Like even more so on a regular basis than we are eating or drinking, right? As far as from a liter perspective of how much we're consuming.
Tastes like beef. It must be beef. It's like you're putting you're eating the thing because you're tasting it because you're eating it. You're smelling it because you're breathing it.
So then what happens when you smell the scent? Like what happens physically?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends what we smell, but I think like usually
dog poop.
The closer you are to the source, the stronger the smell.
Right.
The stronger the smell, the more you're inhaling.
What are we inhaling here?
So I don't think all poop is built equally. There's probably some more toxic poop than others.
Yeah, it depends on what you eat, right? So if you have a clean diet, you might have cleaner poops.
Yeah,
smells.
Definitely. I think those. I think the smell and the health, the vitality of the substance is quite correlated. But same thing, like I always think it's so amazing. We hear about we're amazed at like the shark who could smell blood 3 miles away. Sure. And we're like, how does that work? How could you do it? And, we get amazed by how like a bear can smell the salmon run 20 miles away or whatever. But it's like I got a 2-year-old. If she poos, we can smell it 50 feet away within a couple of minutes because the airstream, if you a good way to visualize it, if you filled a bathtub, call it like 100 and 200 liters of water, 70 gallons or so, and you put in like a few drops of red food coloring. The food coloring doesn't stay in that area. Within a few seconds, all of the water is equally red. It's distributed across all of the water. Right. So air is the same. We live in it. You can't see it. But if like we let off like, if we brought a bag of food in the room, like a McDonald's takeout bag, and it got put in the room, how long till we smell the fries?
Sure.
And it's like, well,
instant almost. That's
because it's aerosolizing, it's off-gassing. That fry is emanating smells from itself that are very quickly moving through the air currents and streams to our nose.
Right.
And like you'd be able to close your eyes, get blindfolded, and find that bag with your nose. So it's just like really cool to tap into our human features that we don't really realize. Like if you go outside on a given day and we say we all have to, let's say there's 5 of us and we have to guess what the temperature is outside, we're all going to be within a few degrees.
Mhm.
You're not going to have a 90 and a 50.
Sure.
So that's because we have temperature sensors built in.
Right.
And if like humidity is a little harder, but because we've looked at a number on a screen, we've calibrated our temperature sensors.
Yeah.
And you can do all the same stuff with mold, with carbon dioxide. Like I went into a kava spot here in Austin last week and someone was bragging, hey, Mike knows how to detect the air in real time.
Oh, no.
And you put me on the spot and I'm like,
Yes.
950. And then like I pulled this thing out and then in a second it calibrated, it was 990.
Oh my gosh.
And they're like, oh shit, like it's not perfect,
Yeah.
but it's pretty close.
Yeah. Well, you walked into my house when, first of all, I got white glove delivery of my air purifier, which I was super pumped about. And this was months ago when I first tried Jasper. And so it's been months of this just, sort of seeing how I feel and, if they're the quality of air and quality of life. And so when you first walked in, you were like, actually, this house is really good. And so I worked really hard on it because I knew a lot about just plastics in furniture and plastics in just anything from your couches to your cookware to, Teflon pans to any of these. And, even down to the lampshades, polyester lampshades is crazy. So just really focusing on natural fiber or natural woods in the home. So, so I'm curious, just like when you walked in, you were just like, wow, this like air quality.
Yeah, it felt good.
Great. Yeah.
It's a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And like, because I've tested the air in, I don't know, like 2,000-3,000 homes, I have a large data set of like my own body senses calibrated against particulate sensors, CO2 detectors, mold tests. So I got to like, really calibration is the best term I have. So once you've done like 200 home assessments, it's funny, you go into a home to be there for like 6-7 hours to test the air.
Yeah.
Within 10 minutes, the rest of it is just explaining it to the person.
Right.
You already know exactly what the problem is, where it is, and what the solution is in like the first 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Check the attic, check a couple areas, wet spots, kitchen, under sinks, baseboards. Like there's only a few areas where the problem will emanate, and you can tell by the odors if like you wouldn't have a smelly house if you don't have smelly stuff in the house,
right?
And poor ventilation.
Exactly.
And like anything that you could, another way to think about the scent is like if you can smell it from an inch away, that means it's constantly it's off gassing.
Right.
Otherwise, how would you smell it from an inch away?
Right.
And that means it's just like slowly distributing into your indoor environment.
Right.
Anything that you could smell.
Okay, so then let's talk about these actionable steps and like if you were to walk into a home, right? Just random home and do kind of a assessment. Is there sort of a general to-do list that you would tell someone essentially because like I said, when you walked into my home, I actively took a role in just making sure that my home was sort of, plastic free and just really like using natural, like even the rugs, it was like lamb and fur and it wasn't these just, polyester pieces. But anyway, so if we were to walk into a home and to assess it, what would we talk about first, right? For me, it's eliminating. Okay. And so not to just add something else to your home, such as an air purifier, right? Because that could also be like, you could also get
freshener.
Or an air freshener. Oh my gosh, please no, those don't work at all. But when you go, it feels like a little fatiguing when you try to figure out, okay, what's the right air purifier? And that's what Mike's here for too, to just kind of like walk you through what a solid air purifier would be. But before we do that, and same thing that I do with health, food, wellness, exercise, how simple can we get? How much can we eliminate first to clean, to have the cleanest sort of canvas, if you will, before maybe optimizing or adding to, right? So let's talk about the assessment that we went through yesterday in the Jasper house. So what are some few top tips that someone could do at home to start purifying the air without getting a purifier?
So and this is the perfect segue because the CO2 is not just indicating how much carbon dioxide is in the room. It's also indicating how many people are in a space and if there's too many people in a space. And it also is determining how good is the ventilation. Because if your CO2 is really high, then we're not really doing a great job venting out the things that are in the air. If your CO2 is low, we know the home is breathing well. And if you think about your HVAC system, like the lungs of your home, if the CO2 is high, that tells us like the lungs aren't functioning very well. We're not circulating at all.
Right.
So going back to things one can do for free today, which is the best part.
Yes.
Like get a few easy wins.
Yep.
So there's source, and then there's like how you deal with that source.
Sure.
So sometimes you need to just fix the source. And there's a lot of times when like those are a lot of easy wins, which is like the less is more, addition by subtraction, removing stuff.
We love that.
And then there's also dealing with it. So like if you do a test on your water and your water has a lot of chlorine and whatever, maybe you're in a position to order or go to a spring and get drinking water. But still going to be really difficult for your bath water, your shower water, and all that. It's going to be tough. What are you going to do? Dig a new well? It's still going to be the same ground.
Sure.
The city's piping it in. You don't have that much control within a reasonable lifestyle of the source of your water. So what we do is like we filter it at point of use. So let's say you had like delivery glass bottled water for your drinking water. You could get a shower filter head. You could get a reverse osmosis or a drinking water filter or a fridge filter. So you don't deal with the source. At the source level, you filter out the contaminants. So yeah, the sources basically could be, so like number one, let's start right when you walk in your house, and that's the shoes.
Yep, let's do that.
Getting the shoes off right off the bat.
So take your shoes off.
Take your shoes off. And also like it's really hard, especially like if you ran out and you forgot the keys and you just come in. It happens. Happened to me this morning. Yeah. It happens. Ideally minimal carpets in a home, and especially in like high traffic areas of the home, like a really nice rug in your bedroom. So like a
rug runner right by the door.
That kind of stuff. Or like if like ideally, because the carpets are big sponges and they're really hard. Sponges are not easy to clean. They absorb everything and they don't let it out very easily.
Yeah, I mean, how often is one just washing their rug if it's even washable?
They don't even steam clean it. Or the carpets are over it.
Exactly.
It's another good thing. Steam cleaning and duct cleaning is a big deal.
What about I'm a big barefoot person? If I go like outside and I ground and then I come in, what do I do?
I like the barefoot thing better because your feet are probably getting washed more regularly than your shoes.
I see.
The shoes have like this buildup of like walking on the lawn and getting the glyphosate and the Roundup on your shoes, and 95% of shoes tested, and there's been a million studies of this, like 95+% of shoes have fecal matter on them.
Oh yeah.
Why wouldn't they? Dog poo and hopefully just dog poo.
Yeah.
In my neighborhood, probably.
It depends on where you're at.
Deer poo in my hood.
Sure.
So shoes are like a great place to start. Like, and like it's okay, guys. If the contractors are coming over, you could just tell them to take the shoes off. And if it's a situation where they can't, just like wipe the floor when you're done. Or actually, I used to have it when I was doing mold restoration, and I always had a bag of booties. I just kept it at the front of my house.
Oh, interesting.
So if you want to come in with shoes, no problem. But like putting a little trash bag on your foot.
Yeah, no.
Come on in.
Yeah, I feel like just take your shoes off. Stay a while.
I mean, if it's like movers or they're like doing construction-y stuff, okay. I'm not going to make you like break your foot or whatever. But generally, no shoes, low-hanging fruit.
Okay, shoes off. Next one.
Better being mindful of the stuff you're putting in your home, like some hairsprays set off Jasper like crazy, and some cleaning products. So, you guys
better not to.
Yeah, you talk about this stuff already, right? Like all the products you use and don't use.
Right, exactly. And it's crazy too, speaking of just like, consumptions and sensitivities too, where it's like, your body has sensors to temperature too, but also the cleaner kind of you go, the more simple, the more you eliminate from your life that contributes just to this like, I don't know, overload of
And it's not just in your home.
Toxins, right? Then you don't know what you don't know unless you remove it, right? So it's almost that when I've gone away from even just shampoo, I haven't used shampoo and conditioner for like 2 years now. So anything, any sort of,
your listeners probably know. I don't know the whole story here.
Yeah. No, 2 years. I haven't had it. But if I smell like shampoo on somebody or conditioner, and it's so potent.
Right.
And not only that, I get a headache immediately where I didn't before.
That's another gift.
Yeah.
The headache is a gift.
Right? It's almost like
it's your sensor. Your headache is your feedback
it a curse
loop.
or a blessing, right? And so
I'd
it's
say
like
blessing. I'd rather
now
not.
It's a blessing because now, and I really want people to tune in more, to be more in tune to how they feel from, food, nutrition, and also just even just what you consume on a daily basis. It's including air and including social media. It's like, just take note of how you feel. And then it's like, well, I don't know what my intuition is saying, like if it's good for me or bad for me. And the reasons why is because we have so much happening around us, so many scents around us. If we're just speaking air quality in general, that we don't know when that headache arrives because it feels normal almost, right?
I just get headaches.
Yeah. So when you remove these toxins and then all of a sudden you experience it in somebody else's house, then you get a headache. You're like, whoa. And then you could just start relating it now to certain things. And it's like, wow, was this causing me a headache before? And you don't know until, again, it's removed. And then you're like, oh, yeah, it was.
My friends, Wes and Katie, I can smell their dog from 50 feet away outside.
Wow.
They don't smell it.
Yeah. Because they're used to it. It's crazy.
And like growing up, drinking water was just water. Mm-hmm. I never thought of not getting tap water.
Sure.
So I didn't really have a refined palate. My sensors on my tongue weren't dialed into detecting, let's just say, chlorine, to keep it really simple.
Yeah.
Then you start drinking filtered water. Now you go have tap water restaurant. You're like, blah, like I can't drink this. Are you kidding me? Yeah. But like a lot of times it happens with Jaspers as well. Mm-hmm. When we used to be really local in Toronto, we would let people do like 1 week with Jasper.
Yeah.
But then on day 5, like they would sleep with Jasper on sleep mode, medium speed. And then after day 5, we tell them to do 2 days without, or we take it back and they would have panic attacks.
Oh, wow.
Either where they're working out or where they're sleeping. Because all of a sudden they say that the air feels heavy and dusty and hard to breathe.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, that's what you were breathing with the past whole life.
I should turn my Jasper off and just see.
Do you have it in the bedroom or is it in the common area?
No, it's in the common area.
So the most profound would be like...
It's like next to me or something.
In your bedroom at like a highish speed.
Yeah.
Because if the average bedroom has about 800,000 particles floating around in it, and then you reduce that by 95%, then you reintroduce it, that's when the shocking moment happens.
Wow. Okay, cool. I'm excited to try that and give you guys my feedback. And also, like, let's talk about what 800,000 particles are floating around the bedroom in a second.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll check after what it is in here.
Okay.
And Jasper's in the corner, but Jasper's off right now. Yep. Just for fun, we can see what the air is here. Casually turn that on, and then we'll see what it is when we leave.
Okay, cool. So those are 2 kind of tips for you, but we're going to go live on the Instagram right now and just see
maybe get more tips.
Yeah, get more tips. See if anybody has any more questions. Let's go for it. So we are with Mike, who is a wildfire expert. I'm like the human Smokey the Bear. So what we're here today to do is to talk about just air purification. So if you guys have any questions, please start asking questions now. That's what we're here to do. This is a podcast, and so yes, we're recording it, but it's kind of live too.
Wow. Because this is awesome.
Yeah, we wanted to include you guys in the conversation and the questions because I'm just learning more about air purification, and just I love just understanding what happens when we consume in general from a food, nutrition, water, anything like that. So we've got air. Air is actually, we're consuming it. Yeah, of course you can move it. This is our friend is here, and he's helping us with the
audio, video,
the camera, audio, video, and all of that. So hi, you guys, welcome. We are talking air purifiers. So if you have any questions on air purification, please ask now. This is Mike. He is a wildfire expert, and he is the founder of Jasper over here, this amazing system or device that does the best air purification. Not only that, it's pretty sleek and sexy, and that's what caught my eye to begin with.
It matters.
Yes, it matters. So let's talk about the air purifiers that somebody would have at home, right? So they probably have some devices that they got from a Bed Bath & Beyond or maybe a Target or things like that. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I know there's some consumers and the audience out there who have asked too. It's like, do you really have to spend a lot of money on air purifiers? Like what?
So you don't have to spend a lot of money. And
Mhm.
the reason that we're kind of built different is because I wasn't trying to create like an air purifier. My background was in wildfire smoke and restoration and mold removal and floods.
Mhm.
So what that means is I used to go into California or Alberta or British Columbia and restore homes after big wildfire smoke situations. And I saw how sick people were getting after wildfire smoke.
Sure.
And the machines that we were using for mold removal, floods, and fires were giant.
Huge. Yeah.
Like photocopiers, like subwoofers, they were massive. They were super effective. They worked really, really good. However, the problem is they were really loud and really ugly.
Mhm.
So it was disappointing that we would restore a home after wildfire smoke and then they would get recontaminated again. The smoke would come back in the house.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is reactive. How do we get more proactive? And I noticed that people would unplug these giant air purifiers we would leave in their house
Yes.
because they were so loud and so ugly.
Sure. Sure.
So whether the noise pollution got to them or just the aesthetic, oh, cool.
Oh,
This
that's
is
great.
awesome.
Yeah. What are the benefits of air purifier for your rooms?
I'll go to that in a minute.
Okay.
So originally I was only trying to create an air purifier for wildfire smoke. I wasn't thinking about anything, but hey, when California has big fires and the West Coast is covered in smoke, we need a more effective solution that is ideally made out of steel. So it's high quality and it can last a long time. No off-gassing and plastic and a cheap device that will only last a couple years.
Right.
It had to have the size, power, and performance like the things that we were using on commercial jobs. It had to be quiet. It had to be beautiful, so people would be proud to have it in their house. And it had to be smart, so it could be silent, but when it would detect the wildfire smoke, it would automatically kick on.
Right.
And then 2020, we're getting ready to launch, COVID times. So we ended up selling all to doctors and dentists,
I
which
see.
was never part of the plan. And then patients started to find out about them from the dental office, and they had kids with asthma, horrible allergies, autoimmune stuff, sleep problems. They started to inquire about it. So we created it to be specifically a aesthetically pleasing, beautiful machine inspired by commercial air scrubbers for wildfire smoke. And now I never in a million years thought we would be focusing on allergies and sleep and wellness and like really optimizing health.
Mhm.
It was not on our radar at all.
Right.
So like the big difference is size. And what I consider most small air purifiers, the best analogy I have is it's kind of like trying to heat a bathtub with a kettle.
Mhm.
So a kettle is super effective at heating a cup of tea. It's awesome at heating water
Right.
if the goal is just to make a cup of tea.
Right.
But if the goal is to heat your bathtub,
Right.
it's too small. It doesn't get
Right.
the job done.
Right.
You can't tow your boat with your golf cart.
Mhm.
It's just too small of a vehicle.
Yes.
Sometimes size does matter.
Yeah.
So
It does.
we were approaching it from a different lens. So there's nothing inherently wrong with most small consumer air purifiers. The problem is the size. So where they're marketed for like 1,000 square feet or a large bedroom, and like air purifiers don't care what your square footage. They care about cubic volume, ceiling height, airflow, and everybody wants to oversimplify and say it covers 800 square feet or 1,000 square feet. It's like, by coverage, do you mean cleans the air 99% or 10%? They don't say that part.
Right. So now I know you were saying too that the size does matter. So, but is it also the rule that, oh, if it's bigger, then it's better, like hands down, or then quality plays a role
Yeah,
too?
it is actually. It is in terms of effectiveness. Yeah, because most air purifiers have a pretty good filter in them. Filters work quite well. A good analogy is, would you rather have 99% of $1 or 95% of $5? So airflow is what matters most.
Right.
It's just usually the big powerful ones are loud and ugly,
Mhm.
and then you don't use them. So it's
Right.
it's like when Dyson came out with the first beautiful vacuum.
Right.
Like people didn't want these large, ugly vacuums all
Right.
over. So the aesthetic and the user experience is what made it accessible.
And they also had the fans too that are like more sleek too, right? You can have these like industrial big fans and then
Dwayne.
it's just like too much. But so yeah, so we're going to take some questions from the audience. So if you guys are just tuning in, I am here with Mike. He is the founder of Jasper, and we're talking all things air quality.
Jack and Dwayne.
From somebody who's a wildfire expert and has developed this amazing air purifier. So these are some of the questions. Let's talk about it. Jack, what are the benefits of air purifiers for your rooms?
It's a good question. So it depends on the room. So feel free to ask about a particular room, Jack, and we can look at that in a deeper dive. However, the benefit, let's just look at the places that matter most. You know, we spend 95% of our time indoors, which is a blessing and a curse. It's a curse because that's way too much time to spend indoors. It's a blessing because we're really able to optimize and control that environment. We have very little impact over the outdoor air, but we really can control the environment inside. So
right. And so when we do have situations such as like recently Mexico had those wildfires.
Those weren't wildfires. That's agricultural burning.
Oh, that's right. Agricultural burning. Okay. So Mexico had that, right? And then the air quality in Austin was actually worse outside for weeks than it was and inside. And it's funny too, because
that's your air because you were filtering your air inside.
Right.
Most people's air was worse inside.
Right.
Because all the contaminants from the fires were coming in and they couldn't get back out.
Right.
It was trapped in their carpets, their furniture, their bedding, and it's still trapped in there. It hasn't gone anywhere.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, I texted Mike and I was just like, I took a screenshot of the weather. I was like, air quality is poor. You know,
not inside though.
Not in my home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So after a big wildfire, if a good number of air quality is 5 out of 500 in particulates, when there's like a horrible wildfire smoke outside where like you can't see off your balcony, that's like 250 or 300. But people don't realize inside still usually 150 or 200.
Wow.
It's because there's something called nose blindness. You know, you never smell the campfire while you're making the s'mores. It's when you're in the shower, it's the next day. You don't you don't realize you smell like smoke till you leave the campfire.
Right.
And then you're like, whoa, I stink like smoke.
Sure.
So let's make sure we answer Jack's question.
Yeah.
So in the bedroom, sleep, that's a big deal. So for sleep, the average bedroom has about 800,000 particles floating around. This is like a heavy-duty commercial grade particulate counter. These are about $5,000. This is not something that's like a consumer product.
Oh, wow.
This is what I was using when I was doing air quality testing and consulting to measure people's air. What are those 800,000 particles? Yeah. Dust, mold, pollen, pet dander, insect parts, your neighbor's drywall from that bathroom renovation they're doing, the rubber from the cars, from the tire. Where do you think the rubber goes? You don't see rubber on the road.
Sure.
But you can smell rubber.
Wow.
You know when you smell your brakes or your tires? Yeah, you smell it because it's in the air. So bedroom is a big deal. Sleep performance. Anyone who tracks their sleep with Oura, Whoop, Fitbit, 8 Sleep, any of those fitness sleep trackers usually see a massive increase of the quality of their sleep.
Crazy. Well, I mean, you're there for 8 hours and that's where you recover. That is where you regenerate. And so those are really quality and super important moments in your day.
And the only thing keeping you alive at night, it's not food, it's not water. I call air sleep fuel. It's the only thing that fuels our actual sleep.
Sure.
And I call sleep healing time.
Yes,
it's this
it is.
8 hours of our life where we go to heal.
Right.
And if we don't, why not optimize that? It's like the lowest hanging fruit possible.
Right.
So if you're in a home office environment, then the benefits are going to be, there's been so many studies. I won't quote certain ones, but if you just Google like air quality, chess, air quality, SAT scores, where like grandmasters in chess have like more game theory optimal moves, their people's test scores improve, absenteeism at companies go down. Once again, it's thinking fuel.
Sure.
If you're sitting here thinking, what's fueling this process? Yeah. How long can you fast without air? We live in air. We're not separate from air.
And maybe you're sitting there being like, I don't believe it or whatever, but I think it's cool to, just like anything else, you know, you want to try a new diet, a new lifestyle. You don't know how much better you can feel or do or perform unless you try it and you go for it. And then if you eliminate it and then you realize, oh, wow, without it, I know what I'm missing. So it's really cool to just be a part of, you know, such a high quality air in ways. And
it's a felt experience.
Yeah.
Once I travel with mine sometimes and it's not an easy thing to do.
No, have you seen this thing?
It's not easy.
No, it's like this. I mean, it's amazing. It's beautiful. It's one of the best.
It's not travel size.
Looking, but it's not travel size. Hilarious. All right, let's get to another question here.
And then the kitchen, because he asked about the rooms, and the kitchen living space is a big deal because the number one cause of pollution in a home is cooking.
Okay, and you know that my audience
And
loves
that's
to
you.
cook, right? So here, really quickly, because we're live, sometimes people start to tune in. So I just want to let them know that we are here with Mike, and he's the founder of Jasper Air Purifier, and he is a wildfire expert. So I'm just like geeking out with him on all things air and air quality, and just how we can like help with the quality of air in our homes, right? Because we spend a good amount of time in our homes, more so than outdoors, unfortunately. But like he had mentioned too, we can control that environment and make it healthier for us, for our family, for our kids, for everybody. So we're also taking questions from you guys too. So please ask your questions about air purifiers because, you know, searching through those or shopping through those, there's so many questions that it's like, well, which one's the best? And does it really matter if it's bigger, or does it really matter if it's more expensive or what? So,
So the cooking is the big one.
Great.
Because we cook indoors
Yes.
primarily.
Right.
And this is a new thing for humans.
Mhm.
Indoors is a new thing for humans.
Yeah.
Until very recently, it was a roof over your head
Right.
to keep the rain out, maybe some walls to keep the predators out, and the
Sure.
wind, and stash your stuff and sleep comfortably.
Little tent.
Little tent,
Yeah.
little roof.
Yeah.
And then since the 70s specifically, we started building really energy efficient homes.
Mhm.
And energy efficiency is completely at odds with environmental health. So we're building these really tight homes to keep the cool in the summer and the warm air in the winter. Unfortunately, we keep everything in. So we're trapping ourselves in these little boxes. And what happens then is with cooking, we cook inside. So when you have high heat and protein, or really just you aerosolize anything, PAH is the big one, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. This is the same thing we would detox from a home after wildfire smoke.
Oh, wow.
It's the same thing that gets created when you cook.
Right.
You're burning stuff, you're cooking stuff, and it's like literally organic asparagus or grass-fed, grass-finished beef on a cast iron pan with avocado oil will still really spike your air. And
do you know if there's like a difference between like specific oils too?
There
like
is.
If I have avocado oil versus olive oil.
Well, the lower the smoke point, the more aerosolized the oil gets. And different foods matter.
Right. And so obviously you guys know on my Instagram account too, it's just the high quality of the oils. I mean, if you have a high polyphenol olive oil, that's better than pretty much all the other olive or all the other oils. But cooking with animal fats does definitely have a way higher smoke point, specifically tallow, right? So yeah, so the cooking, so the oils and things like that, you're cooking in cast iron, whether it's asparagus or beef, which is typically
you saw yesterday we had stainless steel pan,
right,
and super high quality Wagyu bacon.
Yes,
yeah, Wagyu beef bacon. That's a thing. Wow.
Oh yeah, that's great.
I'm
Salt
excited
and
about
thyme,
it.
thank you. But he also, you wiped him out.
Well, they're closing in a couple weeks, so we got the rest of their beef bacon.
Yeah.
And even just cooking that there, you saw Jasper went crazy 60 feet away.
Right, exactly.
So like just because it's a delicious thing to eat doesn't mean and range hoods don't work very good.
Right.
So it doesn't mean all that smoke is now getting captured. This part of the smoke you see, most of it we can't see. We can't really see air.
Right.
But you can smell things that you don't see all the time.
Right.
So that's getting embedded in the carpets, the clothing, the furniture, the insulation, all of it. So those are a few of the big ones.
Right. What other questions do we have?
This one
here?
real quick. Best thing to help with your skin.
Oh,
So
I love this one.
I don't know a ton about skin.
Okay.
What I do know has air quality pertains to skin.
Yes.
Poor air can increase aging rapidly and wrinkles because of oxidative stress. And all of those particles go in our skin pores.
Right.
So the same way that bad water might not be great for your skin.
Right.
Dry water, bad water,
Right.
dry air. Poor air can increase wrinkles and aging and all of that as well.
Yeah, because we're still consuming it. I mean, it lands on our skin, and we're porous humans. That's what happens. And I mean, of course, as it relates to skin, though, too, it's obviously like get your diet in check. Healthy diet definitely means healthy skin, and that goes from everything from your food consumption to your water consumption. And now, honestly,
So your
I think
skincare.
air it's a part of the primal element and primal diet in ways, right? Because we're not outdoors all the time, but if we can kind of create that purification that trees did, from way back in the day.
That's why the logo is literally a tree, because the world's best air purifier is trees,
Right.
but we left that shit outside.
Yeah.
And big trees, the big old ancient trees are thousands of times better at cleaning the air than these small young trees. And indoor plants are good for like feng shui and vibes,
Right.
but I've tested the air a million times.
Right.
Plants don't do anything for your air. They're just too small.
Right. Which is another kind of myth, if you will, as well too, because there's actually like a whole I don't know if it's like a marketing campaign around air purifying plants in the home, right? And wasn't that maybe a
There was a
NASA
NASA
study?
study. Yeah, NASA plant study.
So real quick, we're live.
We're live.
This is Mike from Jasper. He is the founder of Jasper, and this is air purification, super high quality, a sexy machine too, if you will. It's amazing. And we're talking all things air quality because he's a wildfire expert. And I'm going to pick his brain, and you're here with me to pick his brain. So ask your questions about anything from air purification to just, quality of air, what you can do at home, tips and things like that to help with the...
Dwayne asked about the price.
Yep.
So what's something that people could comment? And if they do, then you could send them, we'll hook you up with a little special code or something later.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So if he... give them something to comment, and then anyone who comments, you can send them a DM after.
Okay.
And maybe we'll do an extra special code just for this week,
Yep.
just to honor this Instagram Live and the podcast we're recording. And by the way, like you said, for those who are joining us, we're actually recording a podcast right now.
Yes.
And mid-podcast, we're like, let's just do a live.
Yes.
So this live will be part of the podcast. So
Right.
thanks for being a part of it.
Yeah, exactly. What other questions we have? I interrupted you in something, but I can't remember.
That's
where
okay.
we're going.
We have too many things to say and not
I
enough time,
know.
so it doesn't
Oh,
really
the
matter.
air plants, the NASA study.
Plants.
Yeah.
So many people have tried. Good job.
Yeah.
Bringing us back.
I know. I think it's the air. It really helps me recall.
So many people have tried to recreate that NASA study, and I feel bad because I was quoting it for a long time. I'm like, NASA, it doesn't get much more trustworthy than that.
Sure.
So whenever people would ask about plants, I'd be like, plants are great. Here's the study. And then I dug deeper, and no one's ever been able to recreate that study.
Wow.
And I then started to just test like the snake plant and a few others. So I like put a bunch of them in a room with the CO2 detector.
So the study was essentially they were trying to purify the air in space, right? Correct. And so they brought plants, but how small was the area that they brought plants in the shuttle, I guess, to try to purify the air? Am I right on this?
I don't know exactly how they did the study.
Okay. So they did it in a very small space where it's like, okay, yeah, the quality of air is a little bit better, right? But then when you put it in your home and things like that, you can't apply that same
Yeah, like if we're using
outcome.
like a plant and then the room was like the size of the plant, like we put it in a little tiny box,
Yeah.
maybe you'd see some marginal difference.
Right.
But the volume of air in a room, there's new air coming in and old air going out too much that unfortunately we would need to like fill our homes with trees.
Right.
And then the downside of that is like plants want to be outside, animals want to be outside, kids want to be outside, I want to be outside.
I always wondered about that. I was like, why are you putting them in pots and put them inside?
At least put them by the window. These poor plants, they'd much prefer direct sunlight, just like we need like we can't get sunburns through the glass. So it's like it's clearly not the full experience
Right.
putting plants indoors.
Yeah.
Trapping these poor guys inside.
I know. I feel bad. They do add a nice like little pop of color and
I do. I like it
mood
too. I think
buster.
these plants are fake here.
Yeah,
they definitely
exactly. They're probably
are. Yeah, probably off gassing.
I know, yeah.
What else do we got?
All right, let's check
Cheap
it out.
particle counter.
What is this?
Can the machine move, let's say, in which you can monitor for your room? So I personally, cheap particle counters, I haven't found a good one. I've seen one called Temtop on Amazon that I'm not sure how good it is. There are, however, air quality monitors they're not nearly as accurate, but they are directionally relevant. So like Aware, AWAIR, is a brand that I use to measure my air at home. And I have a few in different rooms. They're okay. So, you'll see it go crazy when you cook. You'll see it go crazy from wildfire smoke. The sensor's about as accurate as the one on the Jasper, almost identical. So it's good for that. It won't give you like numbers into the hundreds of thousands. It's not using like a laser and a fan like this thing. But Aware is pretty good. They're my favorite, I would say, for particle counters. They measure VOCs as well. But I wouldn't actually say you need like 5 or 6. You could just buy one and like monitor your air for like 4 or 5 days, or ideally a week in a room. And you'll learn a lot about the carbon dioxide in your bedroom at night, or when people come over, or if you're cooking, how much is the air quality? Like if and I've seen in a 4,000 square foot house and someone's cooking and baby's bedroom upstairs in the nursery, Jasper's going crazy. Even a cat litter, 4,000 square foot house,
Yeah.
kitty's using that cat litter, the entire home within seconds is contaminated because
Oh, yeah.
your HVAC system is designed to mix and distribute air throughout the whole home. So as soon as you mix up the cat litter, if you ever look at what's in cat litter, it's not pretty.
I don't.
And then that all aerosolizes. That's why you smell it.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I've seen some huge wins where people were going to get rid of cats because they thought they were allergic to their cat. They weren't at all allergic to their cat. They were allergic to the cat litter.
Oh, I see. Interesting. Yeah, that's super interesting. What a cool thing. And that's kind of what I talk about a lot about, oh, I'm allergic to eggs or dairy. I'm like, is it really the dairy or the eggs, or is it the actual process of how they're produced or the quality of it, right?
Yeah.
So that's
It's easy to make like a
interesting.
blanket diagnosis sometimes.
Right. So then it's just like, oh, it's the cat. And it's like, it may not be. Like, look deeper, right? So that's super interesting. For those of you that just joined us, I'm with Mike. He's the founder of Jasper, air purifier, which is amazing. And so one of the questions actually is, how much space does this unit cover? So let's talk about specifically about
Hairstyles
Jasper.
by Doreen. Great question. Thanks for asking it. And this is the kind of question that only can be answered like this in like a nuanced way, because everybody wants to answer difficult questions through the lens of Amazon filters. So a lot of companies for market research, they go and see what are the Amazon boxes. It's like square footage, price, right? Like you want a TV. TVs make sense. It's like 40 to 49 inches, 50 to 59. This makes sense. With air, you can't think about it in terms of square feet. A few reasons why. Number one, do you have 7-foot ceilings or 12-foot ceilings? Because that's almost twice the volume of the room.
So what do you think? We got to ask more questions about?
What's that?
I said we got to ask more questions, not just black and white.
It's not just black and white.
Right.
Do you have an HVAC system that is running, or do you have baseboards and split ductless heat pumps? Because if you have an HVAC system running, it circulates the air more. And like when you see a company's like, this air purifier is good for 800 square feet or 1,500 square feet, it's like they tell you that the filter captures 99.997%. That's per pass. So theoretically, we could have an air purifier the size of this water bottle that is 99.9999.
Sure.
But because of the size, it's only good for like a room this big. Right. This obviously can't filter your house. So when you hear that like square footage number, the real question you ask is, how much are you cleaning the air at that square foot? And when almost every company says the square footage, that's as if the air purifier is on full speed. I want to change the whole conversation, because 99% of the time your air purifier is at the lowest speed, not full speed. So it's like, what I want to know is, how much cubic volume can your air purifier clean in a house with, fan speed 1? That's like the more nuanced question. And it's not that hard to calculate, actually, because
well, maybe for someone like us.
Or
me.
ChatGPT can help.
Yeah.
It's the way you calculate cubic volume of a room is length times width times height. So what's the square footage? You multiply that by the ceiling height. Then if you can find the CFM of the machine, most people won't tell you their fan speed 1 speed. So Jasper, for example, our top-notch speed is 430 CFM.
And that's a turbo.
That's turbo. We're actually changing the name of the button to deep clean. Because that's really what it is.
Sure, yeah.
Fan speed 1 is 120 CFM. If you see like a little Walmart air purifier, often, and that's silent at fan speed 1, often for them, full speed where it's really loud is only 80 or 90 CFM. Fan speed 1 is like 20 or 30. So it's really not doing much.
Right.
So it's a little bit more nuanced, but the best situation is having an air purifier in where you sleep and where you cook, where you spend the most time, your bedroom, and where you pollute the most in your house, aka where you cook.
Right. Awesome. Let's take another question. We are with Mike from Jasper, is the founder of Jasper, talking all things air quality, air purification. We give you tips of what you can do now to eliminate just some of the sources that are causing your air quality to be trash, really. And then also just talking about air purifiers and sort of the stuff.
And even like the free stuff, like the tips and tricks that people can do, cracking the windows, making sure your bathroom fans are working, making sure your range hoods are moving.
And like, sometimes this could be when you're sort of consuming information as it relates to health, as it relates to biohacking and whatnot, it can be really overwhelming. And so this is really just to have the conversation, to get you kind of noodling over it and, you know, your brain working a bit, just to see, one, again, what you can eliminate and do just on your own without having to biohack or purchase or do any of those things, right? And so this is just to have a conversation to talk about air. And I think that because we consume it, it's one of the most consumed elements. Did I say that right? Yeah.
Well, a really good simple way of thinking about it is you drink 2 to 3 liters of water per day.
Okay.
If you're a great water drinker.
Okay.
You eat 2 to 3 pounds of food per day.
Okay.
But you breathe between 11 and 20,000 liters of air per day.
Okay.
You can survive 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, 3 minutes without air.
Right.
So the first thing you do when you're born, first breath. The last thing you do before you die.
Right.
Last breath.
Right.
The only thing you do to keep you alive all night long when you're sleeping is breathe.
Wow.
So I believe that's why humans have lost our sense of our air awareness, because it's the only thing that we can do subconsciously and consciously.
Sure.
So it's so vital to our existence that we literally can do it in our sleep.
Right.
You can do it in a coma.
Right.
So
and sleep and when you're sleeping too is just the most important time for restoration and recovery and just all the things that really and resiliency even. So for me, it's just really interesting to start learning a little bit more about air and less about, you know, the other consumptions of food and water and things like that, but air, because it is the most consumed element of our existence, as he just described too, as
more
well.
Than 1,000x.
More than 1,000x. And so I think that this can accumulate, right? And so it's like the more that you can do to make adjustments to your life, to the little tweaks that you could do at home, and that wouldn't cost you anything really, the more that helps with your overall just sort of net of toxins that you are absorbing. So this isn't for you to freak out and, check the air quality all the time and then just, buy a $5,000 device and look all that. It's not required. Just starting to be mindful and intentional, then it all accumulates over time. And then
you have a really educated audience and listeners. So when you grow up, you probably were just drinking water. You didn't even really think about tap water. You'd go to the restaurant, you'd go to the sink, you just drink water. Then along came filtered water in the past 10, 15 years. Right. And now that you drink super clean filtered water, tap water tastes nasty. You can taste the chlorine. So you now know you've trained the sensors in your mouth to detect poor water.
Right.
Like if you go to someone's house and they pour you a glass of tap water and you sip, you're like, nah, I'm good.
Right.
I'm going to get some filtered water later. Yeah. I now have come to that same place of awareness with air where I can smell and feel and taste polluted air, high carbon dioxide, stale air. Right. And now it's not like I'm freaking out, but I almost only eat outside at restaurants.
Yeah.
Restaurants are nearly unbearable for me.
Oh my God.
I mean, they often
I didn't even think of that.
Plus if I have the noise pollution, bright lights, and all the cooking fumes, I'm like, I'm good.
Oh, wow.
Some restaurants are really great. And I'll go into a restaurant, I'm like, wow, because most restaurants, they're not
Have you ever brought a Jasper into a restaurant?
I haven't. And it's not the right tool for the job. They need better ventilation in the kitchen.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And
sorry, we're going to ask.
So primal body, let's go back to a question, mix it up a bit. So what differentiates this company, Jasper, for example, an air doctor? Obviously, you cannot comment on air doctor, but what really makes your company stand out? So to answer what's the difference between Jasper and air doctor is basically to answer what's the difference between Jasper and all cheap residential style air purifiers. So big things. Actually, I have a Jasper here.
It. Yeah. No, look at this thing. This is the best. I walked into a friend's house. Actually, he's known as Animal Bates on online. Chris. Yeah, that's right. And I walked into his house and I was just like, what is this machine? Because it was just cool and beautiful. And he said it was an air purifier. I was like, wow, that is the best looking purifier I've ever seen.
It's unplugged right now.
Okay.
So it's off.
Okay.
Right here. I'm not going to give you a demo or show you how it works. But the big things are it's metal. Cold rolled steel, no plastic.
Oh, that's a check for me. Great.
It's a big deal. So the lifespan should be about 30 years.
Okay.
We built them instead of buying a cheap little plastic machine with a 1-year warranty. This is a steel machine with all commercial grade components that should last 30 years, which is why we're comfortable having a lifetime warranty.
Right.
And our warranty is badass.
Yes.
Very excited about our warranty.
Yes.
So let's say your Jasper breaks. We ship you a brand new one in the box. You take the brand new one out of the box. You put the old one back in the box. We give you a prepaid shipping label for UPS, and we schedule UPS to pick it up at 9 a.m. the next day.
Okay.
So if it breaks, that's a us problem.
Right.
It's ridiculous to me that warranties last 1 year when the product's supposed to last decades. That's not fair.
No, I love
putting your money where your mouth is.
No. And I love the confidence from it too. It's just like, you know, and you also want somebody to enjoy like this quality air, and it's like you believe in your product.
Paying you a lot of money to solve their air problem, and if your warranty is a year, this is not cool.
Take it from the wildfire expert. This is Mike from Jasper. This is what we're showing you now.
So we're answering the question about what's the difference between Jasper. Thank you, Tenderfoot. Appreciate you.
Mike, you are a G.
We love you too. So it's metal, not plastic.
Yes.
The lifetime warranty is a big deal, but also just the size. So obviously it's on the table, so if it looks bigger than it is, if I put it on the floor, it's not that huge.
I'm 5'3", maybe 5'4" on that. On a good day.
Is today a good day?
Yeah, today's a great day.
So if this was plugged in, you'd see that this light is green and the air quality would be on the top. So not only is it telling you like good or bad, but it actually is showing you the air quality in real time with the number. It's off right now. The other thing is it has 360 degrees intake. So what that means is you could put it in the corner. You can put it against the wall. They asked the air doctor. So when you only can collect air on two sides, air doctor tells you have to keep it from about a foot away from the wall.
Oh.
So next thing you know, it's like in the middle of the living room.
Oh, interesting.
And because it only has two sides, it has a good chance of not, with the way airflow patterns work, of not necessarily capturing the air. So the airflow design is designed so the most polluted particles fall to the floor, get captured, go back up into the breathing zone.
This is why I really love Mike, from the founder of Jasper, is because he just thinks of it all. And this is really, honestly, like some of the people that I collaborate and work with, and the partners too. It's like, because you are so intentional about your product and what you do, you really think it all. And the other thing too is EMS. Like, you thought about that too. Very easy to do. Right. And then what about the EMF situation too, right?
So no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, no EMF, no apps.
Right.
We actually developed an app and decided we just felt weird about not putting that out there because like, there's apps for dishwashers these days.
Right.
The last thing I need is another app in my life to control my air purifier.
Right.
I think that someone was telling me the other day that they have a Dyson and they lost the remote. And you can only control the air purifier on the remote. So it's permanently stuck on fan speed 3.
Oh, no.
And then even those, but like, yeah. So if we had Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, we would just like, so, okay, we're cleaning your air, and then it's just not necessary. We wanted the product to be simple. And as a company, we want to focus on cleaning the air, silent, minimalistically, in an aesthetic pleasing way, no bells and whistles. We've played with putting a speaker on board and putting lights inside, and we're like, no gimmicks, no tricks, no UV lights.
Well, also producing a really high quality purifier too, as well.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all we got to do. Talk, educate.
Yeah.
And for those 1% of you out there, 2% of you who today is air purifier buying day, great. For anybody else, crack your doors, use your range hood, turn on your bathroom fans, stop putting your shoes inside.
Right.
Look at the chemicals that you're using
There's
in
so
your
many
house
tips
to clean.
from cleaning chemicals, from your scents, from all the things that diffusers, from like hair products and hairspray and shampoos and conditioners and all these things that you could remove. And so if you guys are watching right now, this is Mike from Jasper. He's the owner of, or founder of Jasper, a really high quality air purifier that we have beautifully right here. But if you guys watching right now, please ask questions as it relates to air purifiers.
And forget air purifiers, anything to do with air, period.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't have to have anything to do.
Expert. So he just like knows all things
mold,
about air,
floods,
mold.
fire,
That's
detoxing
amazing.
your home.
So
doesn't
ask those.
have anything to do with this.
Also, this podcast, we're filming a live podcast right now too, which will come out next week about just Yeah, well, which will come out next week, by the way. So we'll keep you posted on when that comes out. And I think we're going to have a giveaway for that podcast too. So make sure you hit the subscribe and notification bell on my YouTube channel so that you can get notified when that drops and that you can enter into the giveaway. But we're taking questions from the audience right now too as well, because we are Instagram live and just all things about air. So let's take another one. What is it?
You can read it out.
Okay, cool.
By Mel.
How often, by Mel Designs, how often should we change furnace filters in our home? And what's the best furnace filter to use?
So this depends.
Okay.
The blanket statement would probably say every 3 to 6 months. But I actually use the most minimalistic furnace filters in my house. I use a MERV 8. A lot of people are saying use a MERV 12 or a MERV 13 or higher. I don't, because your furnace was designed to heat and cool your air. That's it. So when you add an overly restrictive filter to it, what happens is you choke the airflow and you create an unnecessary pressure drop. So now your air circulation's getting worse, your airflow's getting worse, your furnace is overworked.
Oh, wow.
Adding that, your furnace filter, look at the name, furnace filter, it's designed to keep your furnace safe, not you safe. The ones that come from the manufacturer are not super heavy furnaces, filters. They're designed so the dust, the screw or a nail, the clump of dog fur doesn't like get in the motor and break your furnace. Yeah. That little filter is not an air cleaning machine. It's not going to clean mold or dust or smoke. My furnace filters, I haven't changed mine in about a year. I check them every few months. That's because my furnace filters look brand new.
Why do you think that is?
I think that's because we're cleaning our air.
Okay, well, there you go.
So that's my kind of complicated answer, but generally, if you don't have any air filtration at your home, especially if you have pets, I would change mine every 3 months. And I personally wouldn't go over a MERV 10 because I would rather optimize for airflow and ventilation than like a slightly more tight furnace filter. I've measured air with very commercial grade air sensors a lot of times. Furnace filters are not designed to filter the air in your home.
Okay. Next question. Will one machine do the entire home?
Will it? So it will if you have if you have a tiny home, it will.
Yeah.
If you have a tiny home, no pets, and don't cook, it definitely will. Like for a studio apartment or a 1-bedroom apartment or condo, it could be great. A townhouse, open concept situation, definitely can. Great. The best practice is 1 per bedroom that's being slept in every night, and 1 in the kitchen living room to handle cooking particulate.
Right.
And that's why we did our pricing the way it is. So like if somebody buys 2 or 3 or 4, the more they get, the cheaper it gets.
Okay.
And if we ever work with partners, like we're going to do a little special today. So if anyone just comments Jasper special, then Lindsay will DM you later with a special code, and your code and our bundle offers combine. So they can get these things can get as cheap as like $5.99.
Oh, wow. Okay,
yeah, they can get way down. These used to be $2,000 when we sold to doctors and dentists. We didn't even have e-commerce for the first 3 years. Yeah. If somebody wanted to buy a Jasper, they'd have to call us or email us, and we would chat with them about their mold and their allergies and consult with them. And we only even put this thing on the internet a year ago.
Oh, wow.
So that's why we were so rooted in education, because we literally talk to everybody. So hopefully that helps.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. One more question we'll take, at least from the Instagram Live.
Next one's for you.
But you said to turn on your range. Oh, this one, the animal-based bay. Do you travel to the UK? And if so, okay, we're talking about air. Also interested, what diet does Mike follow?
What diet does Mike follow?
Yeah.
The no bread diet, for sure.
The no bread diet, yeah.
Me and my daughter Aria have been on the journey together.
But I was over at his house the other day. He was cooking Wagyu beef.
Wagyu beef bacon.
Right,
that was yesterday.
So he does eat some animal foods, but also...
My diet is a very simple one. It's don't eat after dinner.
Okay.
It's like shocking how effective that is. Just like no food after dinner.
Yeah.
I don't know about all these time restricted intermittent fasting. I'm sure they're all great.
Yeah.
But for me, just not eating after dinner lets me sleep so much better. Even if I was eating healthy food late, I wasn't sleeping too good.
Yeah, because your digestion is still working.
Yeah.
It keeps you up. But
and then no.
But hopefully, since
no bread,
we've been chatting,
gluten.
there's been some
getting better.
Maybe some adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And so am I going to the UK? Possibly. Stay tuned. So Hairstyles by Doreen, you said to turn on your range hood, but also that they don't all work. How can you tell? if it's
Well, this is
working
great.
properly.
And Doreen, you should definitely, by the way, hairstyles, hairsprays are a big deal. You should definitely check out our, this is a podcast that we're doing right now.
Yes.
And yesterday, Lindsay and I shot a bunch of videos at the Jasper house. And one of those videos was doing an experiment on how to test your range hood and your bathroom fans to see if they work. And the one yesterday in the video, sneak peek, it didn't work at all.
Yeah.
It was really loud and barely could pull a single tissue.
Yeah.
So if your bathroom fan is working good, it should suck that up right away the way it would suck up smoke.
And the hood over the stove that day, it looks like intense. Like
looks intense. It sounds loud.
Yeah.
It was actually blowing warm air.
Yeah, it was blowing out.
Yeah. And at your house, your range hood was just going above. It wasn't even venting outside.
No.
So luckily you're filtering your air.
Right.
Best is to vent it out, but if you're not venting it out, get those windows open, get your Jaspers on smart mode.
Yep.
So the best way to determine if a range hood's working is first, let's make sure the blower and the fan are working. So in order to do that, we need to just like test it with a Kleenex, with a paper towel. That's number one. But then typically a range hood should be like 24 to 36 inches above where you're cooking. Otherwise, it's just too high. So a really low-hanging fruit, also something we covered in the video, is if you can, when you're cooking or boiling things, use the back range hood. Or like, let's say you have an air fryer or a slow cooker. When you let it breathe and exhaust, either open windows, put it outside, put it on a balcony, or if you're doing it, put it at the back burner, range hood on full, because the front stove burners aren't that, the range hood like only captures a little bit of it. I'd say like the front burner, it captures like 30 or 40%, and the back burner is like 80% if it's working.
If it's working, right.
So that's like a big difference. So yeah, test it with a tissue. When you're cooking something that actually is visibly smoky, you shouldn't be able to smell the bacon in the house.
Yeah.
That only means the bacon's everywhere. You shouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
That means the range hood is not doing its job at all. Of course you do.
Yeah. Well, luckily I got a good grill for outside though too, so I don't always cook at home. That's another actually tip too. It's like, maybe don't cook in the home every meal if you can, if you're lucky enough to have the situation where you can cook outside, right? That would be another good tip.
We cook outside probably like 4 days a week. So I got this thing from Jetboil. It was originally for camping.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have this camping stove. We can like walk to there's like a great lake park near us. But since we got it, we often go to parks, hang out under a tree.
Yeah.
We bring our burgers there and we cook.
That would be a great idea.
We do it all the time.
Have them start picnicking more.
Yeah.
Like at least like go outside. So, okay, maybe your home, it doesn't have the capability to have an outdoor grill, or you can't, get a grill. Maybe grills are too expensive. Maybe you're in an apartment. You can't, there's just, no, they say that you can't absolutely not have a grill. So
go ahead and
buy a little, camping thing, or from Jetboil. I have one of those too, and just go on a picnic. And that would be like really cool and really intentional to
also, like, I have 2 young daughters. They're 2 and 4. So it's always they come home from school. It's already like 3:30. And then it's like, do we like go to the park for a rush for half an hour, frantically rush home for dinner and put them to bed?
What a great
or do we like frantically eat and then go to the park? And then all of a sudden 3 o'clock is 7, now 7 is 10. And where did third of our life go?
Right.
So go to the park, kids play, we cook outside on a grill.
I love that.
And you saw the lake park by our house yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, everybody cooks dinner outside there. Even breakfast, we get the bacon, we get the eggs, we go to the lake on like Saturday morning. It's just
love that.
So we're not polluting our house.
Right.
The kids are playing, and then we just like they like come and nibble away. We put the food out. Like it's awesome. We cook like simpler meals. We're outside. The kids are playing. We're getting our vitamin D.
So
we're
it's
hanging
like
in the
doing
sun.
Multitasking, I guess, isn't a thing, but you kind of are multitasking.
Yeah.
You're just like, living life in ways, multi-purpose. So we're going to end the Instagram live right now. Thank you guys for our questions, and stay tuned to your DM. Stay tuned to my stories too. We'll get you that
if anyone comments Jasper special, you can DM a secret offer that we haven't thought of, but it's going to be big.
And then also subscribe and hit the notification bell on my YouTube channel, because this podcast is also going to drop, and you're going to be entered into a chance to win a giveaway, and we'll tell you how to do that. So just make sure you subscribe.
And they'll see all your other awesome videos that you'll be making.
All the other ones. Bye, guys. Let's keep going with the tips at home. I think that this is really important to just go with the theme of there's addition by subtraction, right? There's a way to eliminate a lot of the like the bad sources, I guess, or just at least make it better, right? The bad sources of how it affects our air quality. So we talked about shoes. We talked about just how to work with or how to see actually if your ventilation is working at home and your filters, right? We talked about that. We talked about pets and cat litter and even dogs and things like that. We've also talked about cooking. And so whether that's maybe using the right oils or like, at least for me specifically speaking, like certain ingredients are better than others. But when you are cooking, it's good to just either have the vent on, the hood vent, or have a air purifier in or close by the kitchen. So then we also talked about cooking outside, maybe using grills and being more involved with that. That's a great way to minimize some of this pollution indoors.
Indoor air pollution.
Right. So let's go on. So we talked about that, the kitchen. What else? What about home furniture maybe? Or
furniture's a thing. Personal care products, hairsprays,
personal care.
all that. Like I've done some testing with like Branch Basics is probably the most popular brand I could think of. That like generally that stuff doesn't make Jasper go crazy. So
that's funny.
Like,
I have Branch Basics in my bag.
So it's just like a solid product.
Right. So like a Dawn dishwasher.
I know Primarily Pure, they make a bunch of skin stuff that also doesn't tend to set off Jasper as much or be as fragrant. So like products that aren't using a lot of fragrances.
So take note of the products you guys are using at home, from your dishwashers to, hair care. Like I said before too, I have sunscreen.
Don't put that on inside, first of all, or outside.
Oh my gosh, I could smell it like, outside.
I'm thinking about starting to film it when people use it.
Yeah,
and just like make like a highlight reel.
Yeah.
Because I see this guy the other day, he's sunscreening himself. He's like 30 feet away, huge dude. First of all,
that was from the aerosol can ones, or the one that you lather on? The spray. Yeah.
Maybe 10% of it was getting on his body. And it was interesting because the wind was clearly, let's say it's like us.
Yes.
And the wind was blowing that way clearly. But after like 15 seconds, I got hit hard with like a big whiff of it. So that was like the primary current.
Yeah.
But obviously the smell made its way to me. But he was only getting like 10% of it on him. That stuff is so bad for the environment. Where do you think that sunscreen lands? Like, it's all endocrine disruptors. It lands in the river, in the lake, in the grass.
And this is why we even have to like filter our waters and all these things, because of the pollution that goes on. So.
And like just from a cost perspective, if you want to look at I want to look at all the reasons, not just the health and the environmental, but like it was probably a $17 bottle of sunscreen.
Right.
And if only 10% got on his body, he's going to spend $170 for what should have been like $17.
Right.
Also, he was in the shade.
Right.
Like we were under those big trees at the lake park.
Yes.
And then you go on the lake right after. Also, he was sunscreening as he walked on the beach, sprayed, and then just like dove into the water. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, so then how does that make sense? So there's a sunscreen. So I'm glad that you brought that up from an expense perspective too, because especially since I had gone, went animal-based 4 years ago, it's cheaper because there's so much less that you need. There's less supplements you need. There's less products you need, because my skin was just so much better. And it's not that I had terrible skin issues before, but like the dryness in particular, I always had chapped lips. Now I don't at all, ever. I never use chapstick. So never using like chapstick, and that's a whole nother issue. But like, I just use tallow on my face. So there's no day cream and pre-day cream and night cream and all these other things, right? And so I think from also a cost perspective too, it's like you can minimize just paying for all these products when one, it's just bad. It's not good for your health.
It can be very expensive being cheap.
Yeah, I agree.
And that applies to so many things. The products you buy, almost everything.
Right.
If cheap and short-lived, if you keep buying that cheap thing and you're wasting it and you're not even getting a lot of value out of it, that could be quite expensive.
Yeah. So if you're intentional just about your health and wanting to, eliminate things that could potentially cause bad air quality, getting rid of products is one of them for not only your health, your lungs, your respiratory system, but also your wallet. We've touched on most of like the big obvious indoor air pollution things.
The other ones are a little less obvious. For
Let's talk about
example,
'em.
mold.
Okay.
Mold is an interesting one because if you look at air holistically, in terms of pollutants, there's indoor air pollution and outdoor air pollution. Indoor is all the stuff we just talked about. Outdoor is mold, allergies, car exhaust fumes, factory stuff.
Right.
And then it's funny because like one person's indoor air pollution can be another person's outdoor air pollution. Like literally, I was walking down the street the other day going for a walk in the evening, and I got hit in the face by like bounce sheets.
Oh my gosh.
Because someone else is using the dryer.
Yeah.
And that vents outside.
Right.
So now that became their indoor problem became an outdoor problem for me.
Right.
But also, I was right by another house. I was recently at a house. They know when their neighbors are doing laundry because they smelled the bounce sheets.
Same.
And this was like
my
big
next door neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad.
So it's like it goes indoor air pollution, outdoor, back to indoor. So that's where it's like a little bit nuanced. And mold is an interesting one because mold is naturally occurring outside and inside. So you can get mold inside because you trap humidity in a house. It's not breathing.
Right.
Kitchen leaks, bathroom leaks, dripping faucets behind the wall. And just like you shower inside, it creates a lot of moisture. That moisture gets trapped. We have problems. So mold is a really interesting thing. First of all, if you didn't know this, I guess you did. My background was in mold removal, and there was a like flood fire mold that was all under the same umbrella of like disaster chasing and detoxing people's homes. So there was a saying in the industry: "Mold is gold." Mold is gold because a lot of contractors, demolition companies, they're like, "Wait, I could get 10 grand to renovate your bathroom, and that takes all week and tiles." And the homeowner's like, the grout and the tile work. Or I could charge the same 10 grand, smash your wall, remove your mold with a drywall, have 90% lower costs. So the business model is very lucrative. And then from there, so, Charlie Munger says, show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcomes. So then the mold removal industry got very tied in with home inspectors, naturopaths, now there's urine tests, and there's all these different tests. Almost every test either skews false positive or skews false negative. So I could go to one house, use three tests, and get 3 different results.
Wow.
So the best inspectors will use all the tests and use them all as a tool.
Right.
Because if we do a pollen test, of course there's pollen outside, which means of course there's pollen inside. There's usually more pollen inside than there is outside. Gets trapped inside, can't get back out. So I think it's really important to change the conversation with mold from not do I have mold or not. You have mold. Guaranteed you have mold. Mold is everywhere. It's outside.
It's a scary word.
It is a scary word, but it doesn't have to be. Yeah. Are you scared of pollen? Only if you're allergic to it.
Sure.
If you're not allergic to it, are you allergic to pollen?
I'm not.
Does it sound scary?
Not that I know of. No, it doesn't.
Cedar, pollen, trees. Lately very small anecdotal sample size, but everyone I know here who has the worst seasonal allergies, they're all not nature people. They're all they don't like camping. They're very urban. And I'm like, I feel like you it's keeping you away.
Right.
It's
true.
The pheromones from the trees. It knows that you're trying to cut down trees.
It's the same I feel when there's a lot of people who purify or Purell or use sanitizer or anything like that on their hands. They're always sick. And you're like, do you know what you're doing to yourself? But that, it's a similar sort of mindset there too as well with the pollen allergies.
Same.
Yeah.
So
you got to play in the mud, right?
Yeah.
It's healthy. So.
You definitely got to. So it's not if you have mold or not have mold. There are thousands of species of mold. When we do a mold test in a home, we always take, let's say we're going to sample 3 mold samples inside and 1 sample outside. Why? Because the only way we test mold is by comparing the indoor mold levels to the outdoor mold levels. That's how a mold test works. Especially after a rainy day, there's massive amounts of mold outside. The way that works though is actually for a little bit after the rain, there's almost no mold because it washes it away, but then it comes right back in a vengeance. If it's humid outside, it's moldy outside. And that is outside, we're fine though. We have the UV rays from the sun. We have the hydroxyl radicals from the wind. It's all just dispersed and clean. Outside, great filter. Inside, no filter.
Right.
So I've seen family of 5, 2 people are super sick from the mold. One of them's a little sick and 2 people are fine. It's just like any allergies. So often it's easy to start playing whack-a-mole in your house.
Whack-a-mole, not whack-a-mole.
I tell people, if you want to get out of a lease, call me. I'll come over. I'll find the mold.
Right.
And get out of your lease, because there's always mold.
Sure.
So this is a situation where, yeah, if you have a visible physical patch of black mold, you must get that safely removed.
Sure.
But other than that, usually it's just airborne mold, mycotoxins. So in that case, what you need to do is increase your ventilation and increase your air filtration. So that's when mold and pollen in the home is kind of like getting chlorine in your water. You know, you get chlorine and chemicals in your water from the city, and you get mold and pollen and chemicals from the air.
Right, right. So yeah, your best defense is just, you
gotta clean it.
eliminate cleaning,
Especially
and
in your
scrub
bedroom.
it. Right. And so you clean it with, air purifiers, especially ones at work.
I do those.
Yeah. Okay. So mold. So the other thing, and this was a question beforehand too, but microplastics, right?
Microplastics.
Yeah, we could talk about that too.
Let's
I have
do
two
it.
questions for you.
Okay.
It's microplastics, and then also personal question: why does Mike get up in the morning?
Sure.
Just from
got-
personal.
I got two answers.
Okay,
Which
great.
one first?
Let's do microplastics.
Microplastics.
Okay.
I didn't know what because you can't say microplastics without Mike. So I didn't know I didn't know what you were about to say. You also can't spell hair without air.
Wow, that was just.
I saw
now.
this hair influencer the other day was like doing these hairspray videos. She talked about like low tox living and hair stuff, and like in all of her videos it's like. And then I sent her the video of Molly Eastman and Danielle Hamilton doing their hairspray video. Anyway,
Yeah,
microplastics.
cool.
Microplastics. So there was I'm not saying don't be worried about microplastics in your food and your water. You definitely should, but that's not my area of expertise.
Sure.
So all I can do is use this instead of filter my water, put it in a bottle, stainless steel.
Yes.
Follow
me for more tips on.
I do. I like subscribe all the time.
Yeah, exactly. But what about when it
air.
relates to the air?
Yeah, so I stay in my zone. That's why we have one product. That's all we do.
Yeah.
For the air, the best study was recently published by the BBC, where they tested the air and surfaces in 40 homes in the UK. And 100% of homes tested had incredibly high levels of microplastics, 98% of all samples. And
wow,
I think it was 40 times more. Google it. I don't know. I think it was 40 times more microplastics were found in indoor samples than outside. Because outside things just blow around a lot more and the sun takes care of us. Inside, not so much. So they would collect dust samples off of like your door trim and off the best place to actually test your air in your home is by testing your furnace filter. Because that captures everything. Right. So if you take your furnace filter, knock off some dust, and you send that to the lab, you can learn a lot about your air. So usually air sampling is dust sampling.
Okay.
Because whatever, your dust is the vessel for the mold, the pollen, the allergens, the pollutants. It all hitches a ride with the dust.
Right. Yeah, that's the
dust
transport.
mites. So they also did biopsies on people's lungs, and the outcome was people breathe about 1 credit card worth of microplastics each week.
Each week.
They didn't, however, say how harmful that is for our health. Now that the awareness is there that we're breathing, eating, and drinking microplastics, now there's more funding and more double clicking and researching on, okay, what's that doing to us? But
well, I mean, the
I
accumulation
assume it's not
of it.
good.
Right. Yeah, and just the accumulation of it too. It's just more and more plastics in our lives too. It's not good, right?
Yeah.
It's not normal. That's
There's a lot
not
of ways we can obviously evolve and adapt, but I feel like tolerance to microplastics in my lungs is not necessarily, I'm not looking to evolve in that direction.
Yeah.
This seems like a source removal situation.
Right. Yeah, agreed. And so, yes, if you're at home and you're wondering how to eliminate microplastics, well, not eliminate, at least minimize, then, you start with your kitchen tools, especially like your Teflon, like go through your kitchen cabinets. It's your spatulas, it's your pots and pans, it's all the drink or the cups and things like that, right? So try to remove those things first, but also, yes, Jasper does.
And the soft
help with
plastics are the worst, right?
The soft plastics,
Like a
What about-
Tupperware.
and you put it in your dishwasher in the heat.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. And so speaking of dishwashing, right? You smell the soap and then also
It
the
doesn't
heat
vent
too. I'm
outside
sure
like your oven
it doesn't
or your
vent
dryer.
outside. So that's probably a major culprit. And I know so many people who have who put their, plastic Tupperwares in the dishwasher. It's not dishwasher safe. Or it is dishwasher safe. It's not health
It's not
safe.
you safe.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so one more question.
What you got?
Is yes. Let's talk a little bit more about you, something a little bit more personal.
Sure.
As an owner and or just as a founder of a company, why did you create Jasper? And like, why do you get up in the morning? What motivates you? And I know when we had first chatted a little bit, I just really like aligned with you because of just the way you think and then also the way that you sort of move through life as it relates to consuming. What are we consuming? What stimulus is around us? And so Mike was just like, oh yeah, I didn't have a phone for whether it was a
3
couple
years.
years. Yeah. And I'm just
Recently.
like, wow, I would want to aspire to be like him. And so more than just being, the founder of a really high quality air purifier, you're also a great human. And I really appreciate that about you. So tell us a little bit about maybe why you get up in the morning.
So yeah, and
Purpose.
I really like to remind myself that Jasper is not an air purifier company. We're really an air awareness company. We just so happened to make this product right now. But like 80% of the stuff we talked about today, at least
Right.
like the ventilation, everything, this is not the solution.
Right.
I want to, when I was consulting and testing and all that, I felt very helpless because if the solutions didn't exist, I couldn't really make them happen. So there was a lot of momentum in the consulting side of things, and even just like home construction. It's very hard for me to create awareness of how to build better homes from the perspective of like home builder or like construction guy. This, you can reach a lot more people. And I want to inspire builders, architects, developers to build way better buildings and homes, and consumers and homeowners and heads of families to demand better homes for their families. You would never go to a house that has like an open house to buy a house, and if it said like cancer here on the front door, you wouldn't buy it for any price.
It's like our food labeling too, right? It's just like what's on the label.
It doesn't say that on the door. And the home is built as quickly and cheaply and fast as possible.
Yeah.
So I realized I would have more impact and influence from the solution side where I could do stuff about things. And also, if you can't make it good for people's pockets, it's never going to work. So if you build a healthy home and people demand a healthy home, you can actually charge a lot more for that healthy home. And then deflation will come in because it will get more competitive. So the no phone for 3 years, that was just to like be super present, not text and drive. I found myself checking sports scores instead of being present with like my grandparents, and my head GPS was going down. I was Google Mapsing places that were like a 6-minute walk away, and like I was GPSing everything.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? Like, I have a GPS built in. Why aren't I using it?
Right.
I'd be like, remind me to make dinner and go to the gym. I'm like, don't I have a memory for that stuff?
Right. When I used to travel a lot, and I still do, I guess, but I actually never had service when I left and was out of the country. And sure, maybe it was satellite, but something as simple as like when you don't have it, you just also ask people where something is, who's local, and then you just have that interaction with somebody that's really
It's the
like,
best.
it's amazing.
I do it still.
Yeah, same. Yeah. And I wish, and this just kind of reminds me more to be more intentional with that too as well. So
If my phone dies, I like to see how many days I can go without charging it.
yeah.
Instead of being like run to the charger,
Yeah.
I'm like, let me wait till there's a situation where I actually have to charge it.
Right.
And sometimes a couple days goes by.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what gets me up in the morning though, I think business is the best way that I currently know of to do creative, cool things with cool people. So like, let's say I wanted to, and I do want to do a lot of community-centric stuff in my neighborhood. Let's just say I became some rich guy. What do I do? In our neighborhood, we need better parks and all that. What am I do? Create the Feldstein Family Park Foundation? Like, yuck. Sure. Like some like weird philanthropy. Like, why is this guy donating parks and putting his name on it? But like Jasper wants to make parks and community events to like keep our shade good and have air quality strong. Like
Right.
Jasper
That's a
parks
purpose.
make sense. And if 1% of people who go to the park are interested in Jasper and buy it, that allows us to do more parks
Right.
and donate more money to Amazon rainforest and wildfires and stuff. So like I almost feel like we're a for-profit nonprofit.
Sure.
So
yeah.
like a nonprofit gets stuck in like what it can do. For-profit is like, let's use our profits for good. But if I want to host wellness retreats or events,
Right.
or, you know, go to a wellness event, not with my consumer hat on, but like
It's a means to support
cool stuff,
these really
fun
cool
things.
community things that people are really wanting and craving, honestly. Me myself personally too. I really enjoy that. So thank
Like-
you for sharing.
You know, that conference we were at, Hack Your Health, a couple weeks ago, I
Yes.
approached them. So next year,
Yes.
we're working on a thing where I'm going to, Jasper will donate either 25,000, maybe more, but I committed to 25,000 to an aspiring entrepreneur that wants to create a new product or brand or service in the health and wellness space.
Oh, great.
So it'll be like a mini wellness Shark Tank event.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah,
so
that'd be great.
we'll donate them the $25,000 grant, some engineering and design hours to help them get up their business and their legal, because way too many people are like white labeling supplements and starting businesses that are great marketers that actually have good messages, but they're just like forgetting that they could like invent something new and cool that the world needs.
Yeah.
So how else would I, doing it through the lens of Jasper,
Right.
we have a vehicle for that. It can make sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love this company because of how, like, I'm a bit of a tree hugger, or kind of a big one.
Yeah.
It allows me to like support, you know, I want to do business globally and travel the world, but I want to travel the world and move through life with purpose.
Right.
And I find business is the most awesome way.
Yeah.
You can hire your friends. Like Rachel was a nurse. When nurses have kids, they're like screwed. And am I a shift work and a bad mom, or do I quit my job? Like, I'm like, what about awesome opportunities for them? So I love using it for creative fulfilling. Jasper House.
Right.
We can have people come and sauna
know,
and cold plunge and make teas for free.
He's all about the community through and through, and this is why
That's why it's
I
awesome.
love it. And this is why, you know, just having even the device in the house is not like, oh, you know, it's cleaning or scrubbing my air, but it's also like it feels good because I want people to connect more with their food, with their nourishment, with their intuition. And just even looking at, honestly, like the Jasper device, it's like, I know who he is. And he's such a wonderful, you know, man that has a purpose. And so it just feels really good. Like I'm connected to the air purifier now. And that's really cool. And so
Air
really
awareness.
appreciate, air awareness. So apart from finding you maybe hugging a tree somewhere, where else can we find you online?
So I'm doing more of this kind of thing. We do have Instagram.
What's the handle?
It's Jasper Co. Jaspr.
Okay.
No E. Co.
Right.
Where
else?
And then that's the main spot. We'll use code AnimalBasedBay.
Okay.
And we'll hook up your most loyal YouTubers, listeners, whatever. So we'll do a $200 off offer.
Ooh, just for this podcast.
It's basically 20% off. It'll be nowhere else available online.
Okay.
Just for this podcast.
Oh, that's amazing.
For a week, for 7 days from today.
Okay.
But then after that, it will always be 10% off for life.
Okay.
And we do have discounts on our website. So if people buy more, it gives them bigger and bigger discounts.
Great.
But it will stack with yours. So like, let's say somebody bought 4, the Jaspers would be like $5.99 instead of like $11.99. So it's really big deals. So starting today for the next
Today as in
7
right
days,
now?
today's in right now, the day that this airs. Yeah, today for you.
Yeah,
June
okay.
24, 25,
Something
26,
like that.
whatever day
Okay.
today is.
Great.
For a week, it'll be $200 off. And the discounts go up from there. And then after 1 week, we'll lower that down to $100 off. And then that code will be there forever. So the opportunity is still there. But to just honor those who are A, loyal listeners, and B, are like on the fence, and is today a good day to invest in clean air? Maybe this is a good week for it.
And also one lucky winner today too.
One
We'll
lucky
get a
winner
free
today, too.
air purifier.
And if you buy, you're still... If you buy and then win, we will refund the one that you bought. So don't let that deter you. And we have something called the life-changing guarantee. So what that means, if it's any time in the first 60 days, it's not obviously a huge upgrade for your health. You're not sleeping better. If your aura or your Whoop score aren't through the roof, if your cooking particulates aren't way down, if your dust levels aren't low, you're like, yo, this is I love what you had to say, but it's not making a big difference for me. Great. We'll give you all of your money back. Take your money back and invest in something that does help because, money has to go somewhere. It might as well go into clean food, clean water, clean air. Like it's a good place to put money.
Sure.
But if it's not making a difference in your life,
Right.
then you should take your money back. We only want to help people who feel the benefit, which is 99% of them, for a very long time.
Cool.
So if it's not good for you, it's not good for us. So
Great.
we'll give you back all your money. Just keep the box if you can for the first month or two. If you don't, we'll send you a new one, but it would help.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Mike, everybody, founder of
See y'all.
Jasper. Amazing. Thank you guys for joining. We'll put some information down below too for you guys to navigate. And yeah, so thank you. Bye.
Over and out.